We're talking about young teams today. First one's the Hawks, later on will be the Sacramento Kings. Now the Hawks are not good, but that's okay, they weren't supposed to be. The question is, looking at this young team right here, what does Atlanta have? Does it have a roster of guys to be excited about? Does it have some guys who are maybes? What's the deal? Well, I think you start with Dennis Schroder, and I've talked about Schroder in videos, I've talked about him on the podcast a couple weeks ago, so I don't want to spend too much time on him because I'm going to be kind of repeating a lot of things. So I'll just say this. Schroder, to me, his ceiling is being the third best player on like a championship team, okay? I feel like if he's your best guy, you're probably not winning more than like 45 to 46 games. If he's your second best player, depending on who your top guy is, you could be approaching 50 plus wins, and then from there on, and maybe I'm even liking him a little too much with saying that. Or maybe I'm overrating him or underrating him if I know how to use English properly. A lot of it with Schroder is just like, he's not a bad playmaker, but he's not a great one. He's not a good three-point shooter. He doesn't get to the free throw line like that. So as a result, he's just in this middle place where he's not going to kill you for helping out and leaving guys open to contain him on drives, but he's also not going to put up like 30 points a game in a big moment, a big game, that type of stuff. So Schroeder's just in this weird in-between, and I have to see if he becomes a great passer or if he becomes a great scorer. We'll have to see what happens. The rest of the guys I want to spend more time on because I haven't talked about them as much. Specifically, we're going to talk about Taurean Prince, 23-year-old small forward who I think a lot of NBA teams would want. John Collins, the athletic big man who I think shows potential, but he needs to kind of decide if he's going to be more of a center or if he's going to be a power forward. And then there's just a heap of younger guys like DeAndre Bembry, Isaiah Taylor, Tyler Cavanaugh, who could grow into something, could not. We're going to start with Taurean Prince. He's gotten way better this season, man. Taurean Prince is just better across the board, which makes sense given that his minutes are going to be higher and his responsibility and all that. But the question with him was if he was going to be able to be like an offensive player, a shooter mainly. He's knocking it out of the park, man. 4.5 threes attempted a game, making nearly 2 of them a game for 43%, and he looks super comfortable shooting them. He's eager to pull up in transition, not with the ball in his hands, but like he'll spot up in the corner. Like you get the sense that he's like excited to shoot open three-pointers. He doesn't hesitate. So that's a good sign. That shows me that is someone who is very comfortable with their outside shot, and that says he's probably going to be a damn good shooter for the most of his NBA career. He's shooting 78% from the free throw line in his NBA career, which that's also a good sign as well, because three-pointers and free throws usually correlate with each other. And then the 6 rebounds a game is good. The other thing with Taurean Prince is he's showing some abilities off the dribble. It's not his go-to thing, and I don't think he's ever going to be really good enough to warrant him dribbling and running an offense that much. But it seems like in a pinch, maybe he's against a switch, or maybe the shot clock's winding down, or maybe someone's closing out on him. It seems like he has enough of an ability to go off the bounce and make something happen, whether that's finish at the rim, maybe that's see where the help defense is coming from and then kick it out to the open guy. He's able to do enough. He can also make a couple of plays in transition here and there, so I think that's about all you can ask for. If you have a guy who's a really good three-point shooter, he can roll to the rim, be good in transition, and then can just do some things off the dribble to where the defense doesn't have a way to really just stop him in his tracks. I think that's pretty good. Now, could he develop more as a ball handler and be someone who could have real dribble moves and a lot of creativity and perhaps elevate his scoring even higher? I guess it's possible. I wouldn't really bank on it. He's 23 years old. I feel like at that point, if you're not a big-time ball handler, it's probably not going to happen. Sure, you could improve, but if we're expecting him to start beating guys off the bounce and making highlight plays, I don't think that's going to happen from Taurean Prince. The other question would be, can he be better from mid-range? Because he's really good finishing at the basket, 64%. He's really good shooting from 3, but long 2s, he's bad. 10 to 16, he's bad. 3 to 10 feet, he's like shooting in the 20s on mid-rangers, and he's shooting under 40% from like floater range. So could he improve on those things? I mean, maybe. Again, I think where he's at right now is pretty damn good, because when you look at him as an athlete, as a multi-position defender, as someone who can play the small forward position and the power forward position, Taurean Prince is damn good, and I think Atlanta has a really good pick with him. They got him with the 12th pick, and I think he's going to be a mainstay for them along this rebuild. Look at him kind of like their version of Robert Covington, although he's a better shooter than Covington ever has been before this season. So yeah, you know, he's not going to be the star of this Hawks team unless his offense just becomes way better than I think it's going to be, but he should be here for a long time. When his contract is up, they better give him a generous offer, because he deserves it if he's going to keep this up with his three-point shooting and the rebounding, the defense, and you know, all that stuff. So Taurean Prince, not many negative things I can say about him. Now, if we get to John Collins, I'm definitely intrigued by Collins, and I made a video about him earlier this season, so, you know, if you want more detail on him, I guess you could go to that for, you know, shameless plug for myself. I'll leave a link in the top comment, I guess. But the thing with Collins is he has a center's game, but he has a power forward's body, because he's 6'10", and he's pretty lean. Now, that hasn't stopped Mike Budenholzer from using him as a small ball center, which I like, because it allows you for better spacing. You know, you put Collins at the 5 and you have more shooters around him, that's going to make your offense better. So Coach Bud's always going to have ways to make this all work. And that's an important part about this, is mentioning that Coach Budenholzer is really good. But the thing with Collins is just like, what's he going to be in the NBA? You know, is he going to be a three-point shooter? Is he going to be a ball handler? Because if he is, then we can look at him as more of a power forward, right? But if he's not going to be a three-point shooter, and he's not going to be able to take guys off the bounce when you leave him open, like on a pick and roll or something, then that could be some rough spacing if you wanted to play him at the power forward position, you know? So then you would suggest, well, he can be more of a center, you know? Well, if he's going to be a center, then he's probably going to have to beef up a little bit, because he's only 235 pounds. And given that he's 6'10", he might not always have the best time mixing it up with other guys, a physicality standpoint, you know? Now, he's damn athletic, and that vertical will allow him to make up for the fact that he might be a little shorter than opposing centers, but I do still think there could be times when he's matched up against Andre Drummond or Embiid or Whiteside or DeMarcus Cousins, and he could have some problems. Now, on the flip side, given how athletic he is, I think you could have him in pick and rolls against a lot of NBA bigs, and he could be able to just beat them on a roll to the basket, be able to get an alley-oop. I think he can beat a lot of guys in transition as well. So there's definitely pros and cons of playing him at the center position. I think ultimately with Collins, that's just what it's going to be. You know, I think he's guaranteed to be a good player, because when you're an athlete like him and when you grab as many rebounds as you do like he does, bare minimum, you're going to be like Tristan Thompson, right? But then if you can develop the three-pointer, if you can develop some ball handling abilities, then you can be more of a big difference maker, you know? Because you look at a guy like Aaron Gordon, who I think Collins kind of mirrors. The thing with Gordon was, as a power forward, he was able to still make it work before he developed the three-point jumper, because he had that ball handling ability, right? So if Collins can do that, then great. Now, those are the three main ones. The other guy I want to talk about for a little bit is Tyler Cavanaugh, who is a power forward who can knock down from 3 and can finish really well at the basket. That's a good thing, right? As long as you're not a disaster on defense, then you can be something. I think he went undrafted, so they managed to do a good job with that. So, I think with Atlanta, for as much as I am intrigued by some of their guys, you know, I think Schroder's got potential. I think Taurean Prince is already in a good place. I think Collins can grow into something. They need a star player. They need a Michael Porter, a Marvin Bagley, a Luka Doncic, a Trae Young. DeAndre Ayton. They need one of these guys, because then when you get that big-time player, I feel like it puts everything else kind of into place. Because right now, you're asking Taurean Prince to be the number 2 option in this team. I don't think he can be that on a good team. I think he's more of a 3rd or 4th option. Makes Dennis Schroder your 2nd best player. So that's what I think they need. I think once they get a big-time player in the draft, which they should get because they're going to be pretty bad for the rest of this season, I think they'll be okay. Some of the things that we should note, they have a lot of draft picks moving forward. They have like 3 picks in this upcoming draft, so that's good. They've already drafted well. I mean, they got Prince, they got Collins. So Atlanta's a good organization, and of course Mike Budenholzer knows what he's doing. So basically with the Hawks, I think they're doing about as well as they can, given that they lost Horford and Millsap and that whole 60-win team. Season after season, guys were gone. And they're doing about as well as they can without having a real star player on the team.